Hi, this is Chris Meekiness fan, and welcome back to the CRUBCAST, your weekly dose of controlled chaos, where every week it gets worse, including this one. Brody, Kevin, and I had an unscripted chat while recording that kind of wound up becoming the episode, which means we didn't record an intro for it, which also means that this is the intro for it. So you're welcome. So we'll just get it out of the way now. Leave a review on your podcast service, crub.org/join to join our Discord for free, patreon.com/crub to part with the money you don't have so we can have it instead. All of that good stuff. Enjoy. And it's a rough part with how these things turn out sometime, right? Like this isn't the same situation because this is like the actual people coming back, but it was the same way I felt when Square sent me the Balan Wonderworld code, and I finally got to dig into that back when that was coming out. And it was just that very quick, but also gradual realization of like, this isn't what anyone's going to want it to be. And this isn't what I want it to be. But if things like this don't do well, then also you don't get to a point where good ones like this happen either. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's bad all around when it's stuff like that, unfortunately.
It's like the ukulele problem before like 8 months later Mario Odyssey and Hat in Time and stuff came out where the conversation sort of shifted.
Right.
It's like, ukulele is like, maybe this is bad and we should never, we should never do an N64 style platformer again because ukulele was bad. So clearly the whole formula was just bad the whole time. And then like 8 months later, it's like, oh, wait, no, you can do this good. Ukulele was just a bad example of it.
Yeah. And then you have the spiteful fans that are like, Hat in Time. And it all goes full circle.
No, that's a double-edged sword. Like you need those enthusiastic fans to be out there raising a flag for it, but I think sometimes they do kind of do the game a disservice. Like with the Akimbot, like that painted the image of this game for me, even though I shouldn't have let it for a long time. It was just them being like, "Nah, man, this is the shit, bro." Like they just don't get it, and then you actually see the game, and you're like, "This."
Even if you look up if you look Akimbot up, one of the top like regular gaming news sites articles about it will be like, it's the PS2 Ratchet and Clank you've always been dreaming of playing in the modern day. And it's like, it doesn't do it any justice if you're just reading boilerplate.
PS2 Ratchet and Clank I want in the modern day. I'm just going to go play an emulator of Rough Trigger. Like, come on.
No, we said you want.
Yeah.
Well, Brody would want the Vanacord conspiracy.
Yeah, that's
HD,
fair. That's fair.
Vanacord,
you can buy that as a PS2 game on PS3. I own it on PS3 now.
You sure
I think I do as well because I bought it for like $3 on sale the one time years and years ago. And I was like, oh, sure, I've heard things similar to Ratchet about this, sure. And I never played it on PS3. And I'm glad because playing that game once was more than enough. I think Rough Trigger is similar to Akimbot. Both those games don't expect you to finish them. They expect you to get a few hours in and they already got your money.
Rough Trigger,
it's the YouTuber thing of like, oh, they're 10 minutes in. We don't have to edit this as well anymore. They're going to watch anyway.
I do it too. So it's okay that the developers did it. I get it.
Yeah, Rough Trigger is a strange one. And clearly coming out at a time, we don't have to get into it, but clearly coming out at a time where Natsume or whatever as a company was like, hey, that's doing well on PS2, those mascot platformers. Let's make something like that. And then it's developers like, almost like an Enter the Dragonfly situation of developers that don't necessarily know what they're doing, but are trying their damnedest.
It's a whole, if you want more info on that, dear viewer or listener, my Rough Trigger video goes into some of that, and that will have been out by the time that this comes out. So you can learn more about how that game actually doesn't rip off Ratchet and Clank 2 like everyone assumes it does, because it was announced with that plot before Ratchet 1 came out. So that game was in development hell. It wasn't the kind of game you think it was.
So what you're saying is Ted Price came up to the developers of Rough Trigger at a convention and said, "Thank you for the idea."
We mentioned Spark the Electric Jester earlier, and that's an interesting one that I wanted to bring up briefly because putting aside, I think there was some developer controversy, excuse me. I played 3 because the developer randomly reached out to me, even though I had never covered. I think it was when I did my Sonic videos, was around when that one was coming out, and they sent me a code for 3, and I did play a little bit of it. And now you have it on Steam, Chris, actually, because now you have it via Steam Family. Yeah. I remember enjoying what I played of it. It kind of had some of the Sonic Forces issue of a lot of the levels felt super short because they were challenge levels sort of thing to pad the length of there was one on a train relatively early on where you just had to get to the end quickly. And then I think there was the same one again, but you had to fight enemies and defeat all the enemies. Like those sort of additional challenges that Sonic games usually use for padding a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting one because there's between that and there was the one that you were playing. Was it Rolling Rascal? Was that one?
Yeah, that is a demo during the last Steam Next Fest. Yeah.
Yeah, you were playing that in on Discord the one time where we were doing, I think, the same Akimbot conversation, which I think it was during that, just about. And again, it's one of those interesting things where I don't know what it is about mainline Sonic that I don't get from a lot of these games, because those games are technically sound, even the ones that are exactly just Sonic 1-to-1, but with a different OC now because it was a Sonic mod that turned into its own game.
Yeah, which Rolling Rascal like specifically is, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
They're technically sound, if not better. And you could probably say it's like, oh, I like brand, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's the AAA polish that a lot of the main Sonic games will, I mean, it's Sonic, so not have. But
some of them maybe have sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, like there's just something about a lot of those revivals that I don't know why it feels, I don't want to say lesser. Because like even Freedom Planet 1, I didn't play 2. Freedom Planet 1 is one of the better 2D Sonic games I've played, with the exception that game needed an editor. Like not a level editor, like those levels are like 12 minutes long a lot of the time. And it's like too much of a good thing because yes, you can finish them in like 6 minutes if you go perfectly, but it's that issue where once you're desensitized to like your own genre or gameplay, you start going more and more to the extreme of catering to that extreme audience. And as a casual Freedom Planet player, I enjoyed it, but I got tired by a lot of the, OC insert fan story and a lot of the really long levels that just,
I played the version, like I haven't even touched the story mode. I played the one that was just like, yo, here's the levels. And I get tired by long actual Sonic levels, let alone like long Sonic adjacent game levels, like some of them are really cool. Like there was one that was like a casino kind of China, like you're running along these like fake dragon structure kind of things. I'm like, this is a really cool level, but it's so long.
Is that the one that ends also with you fighting on a giant ship against that very ship you're fighting on?
I think so. I remember some like running boss at the end, maybe kind of.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
Maybe that's a different level. It might be right after that happens. But I remember that exact level for being so cool. And then I saw the timer going, 12 minutes long, and there was a long boss fight at the end. And it was just like, for people that are diehard, super good at Sonic fans, I can see it. But again, between that and Spark, is entirely competent as a game. 3 I can speak to. I can't speak to 2 or 1. Yeah. But 2 and 3 are the 3D ones. I think 1 was a 2D Sonic, right?
1 was a 2D one with like a Kirby power-up kind of vibe where you could take them from enemies sort of thing. It was interesting.
Okay.
Not a bad game. Yeah.
That's at least like less reductive than just being a Sonic game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's an instinct kind of with that idea of being less reductive. I think there's an instinct for some of these developers to try to differentiate themselves in ways that don't always work. And I think that's maybe why we get that feeling of like, why isn't this quite giving me what I get
Penny's
out of
big
the main
breakaway
thing? God, I wasn't even thinking of it. I was thinking of Spark 2 because I've played Spark. I haven't played 3 or 1, but I've played Spark 2, at least the story mode. I haven't replayed the levels, but I can definitely see how they're built for replayability with all of the different paths and stuff through them. But my point of friction in that game came with like, oh, why are we having enemies take multiple hits to take out, and why are we having bosses where I'm having to do like fighting game or like hack and slash combos to fight them?
That was one of my problems with Demon Tides. Demon Tides has enemies, and we've talked about this on a recent episode somewhere, I believe, about how a lot of these indie retro revival, collectathon scrimblos will often not have enemies, and it's noticeable. Demon Tides has enemies, and the problem to me is it does them in the way that a Sonic fan game does them, where you can do your charge attack into them a few times to kill them, or you could do like your ground pound attack also counts as an attack. But they just are there to stop you from continuing the level until you've killed them a lot of the time. And that type of enemy to me is the antithesis to a game like Demon Tides, which is the idea is about, maintaining your flow state. The idea of taking away the flow state actively harms that concept,
And that was kind of my issue with Spark 2, where it was like I'm having fun running through these levels in this sort of like hybrid between like boost and adventure style gameplay. Like, oh, they've really nailed the feeling of movement and the speed and the aesthetic and all of that. It feels good to go through. But then I just get stopped by an enemy that takes like 3 hits to kill. And I'm like, why? In Sonic, I spin dash into it and I continue forward and momentum continues and it's great and it's fun. And like, why are we trying to do other things? It kind of feels a little bit weirdly like PlayStation All-Stars being like, well, we have to do something to differentiate ourselves from Smash, even though like that game, even if it was cool what they did.
Sonic Heroes and Sonic Rush, which also had those big enemies that would pop in. It's like, you need to hit me in 2 or 3 hits. And it's like, why am I doing this?
I was going to say Sonic 06 shadow levels.
Yeah.
God, I mean, at least in Sonic Heroes, it's to justify like the power character's existence.
Yeah, but fundamental issue with that game from a Sonic design standpoint, even if you like Sonic Heroes design, there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, and I can certainly see that. And I think Spark runs into that where I'm like, oh, if we just made all of these one-hit kills where my spin dash just, or my homing attack just flew me past them and they were obstacles or rather platforms more than enemies, I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, I feel... I guess I was going to say it'd be cool to just have it during the boss only, but then it's like, how am I supposed to learn how to fight if it's only during the boss? So it's not a great solution either.
I have a feeling either this guy really had a vision in his head where when you're playing as Fark, not Spark, Fark, the robot evil jester, Shadow the Hedgehog. When you're doing that, I don't know, maybe he had this idea in his head where he really wanted the combat in there because he wanted to have these bosses and have them like talk to you and have this confrontation. But it's interesting to see the way that Sega has gone into looking into the boost gameplay and said, okay, how do we do bosses? And then you get something like Shadow Generations where the bosses are phenomenal. And like some of them are arenas
even
and some
the
of
Sonic
them are
Generations bosses, like when you fight Silver in regular Sonic Generations, the way that I think you do Sonic bosses in that sort of 3D style to me is you just have it be an obstacle to get to that boss, and then it's one hit because Sonic is so powerful,
Yeah. It was a cool thing the Perfect Chaos fight did, right? They turned Station Square into like an actual level that you would like platform through and 2D through, and you'd have to dodge the actual threatening for once water typhoons, really interesting.
Yeah, like I think one of the coolest bosses in Shadow Generations is that is Metal Overlord, but even something like the Mephiles fight that takes place in like a stationary arena still feels good in that game. Like they kind of nailed it. They kind of figured that out. And
that's a good game.
It's, it takes multiple hits or whatever, but it's still a platformer boss. It's not like I'm hogging it up.
Yeah.
This is kind of what it feels like in Spark a little bit.
Spark has a similar issue to Spark is emblematic of other issues I have with like a lot of the Sonic fan games that are Sonic inspired games that I have seen or played, which is I think that they try so hard to evoke the feeling that we cannot recapture as adults to the point that like in the first area of Spark that I recall playing, there's a bunch of like not wide open, but it's kind of like you're going through a little city on the side. Like there's little like city areas you can like land in on top of the main path you would speed through. And those are like these wide open city, not blocks, but like city squares where there might be enemies or it might just be like a bunch of tables and, chairs around. And there's like stuff to collect there. But it's not like collectibles. It's like, the ring equivalent. And something about that being such a big area that has nothing to do in it makes me think of the feeling that you would have in an old open world game or an old Sonic game where you might think like in Adventure 1, you might think, oh, this level was so huge and there's a cool thing over on the side. And then it's just the opening beach from the first level in that game. And you're like, oh, it's actually only, 2 meters wide. Yeah, but you thought it was so much bigger as a kid. So they're making it bigger to try and hit that feeling, And
very similar with Speed Highway also. I remember that being like this huge level and I go look at it now. It's like, yeah, it's a lot of like narrow roads in the sky, and then sometimes you go to the left and there's like a top of a building with a ring box or something. But
yeah,
very similar.
And like that was mind blowing on the Dreamcast in 1999. Doing it in 2020 plus is not nearly as impressive, and I think trying to evoke that feeling, even if it's unintentional or like unconscious on the developer's part, it just ends up feeling weaker as a result. Like even the Hat in Time is a good example. That opening area in Hat in Time, the really Mykonos looking white city area,
right,
is huge, and there's stuff to do in it, but not really. Like it's kind of just a big open empty city with a bunch of, you know, little corners and blocks and stuff, and it's cool that it's there, but
that kid imagination can go a long way. I started thinking about Delfino Plaza 2, which is or Delfino Plaza also. I wish there was a Delfino Plaza 2. But very little to do there, and when you go look at it as an adult, you're like, ew, okay, yeah, there's like 4 streets here. But when you're a kid, that's a huge city. There's all kinds of little things to poke your head into, but you're kind of imagining a lot of it also.
An adult's unfinished is a child's endless possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that. I think that's why I think I've mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned it on the pod, but I think I've definitely said it to you, Chris, where
that's me.
the first year I started partaking in recreational cannabis use, I found it so interesting because I went back and played Mario Sunshine while high, and
sorry, that was just the most old man way you could have said that.
I went back and played Mario Sunshine while blitzed, and it took me back to that mental space of when I was a kid playing the game, where I no longer had the mind of knowing 3D software and knowing game development quirks and all of these things. And I just got to sit there in the game and like imagine the way that I would as a kid. And it felt like that. And it was so cool.
You got to be present in the moment, Brody, is what I'm hearing, instead of sitting and thinking about the game industry as you played the game.
Right, exactly. Like I didn't think about, oh, this is where the model loads, or oh, I go up in under the bridge into the pachinko machine in the sky, and that's just because it's the load zone, and here's the skybox. It's like, no, I got to think to myself the same thing I thought as a kid: is why is there a giant pachinko machine over the sky of Delfino Plaza? Whoa!
This is Mom Donnie's Delfino Plaza, man.
I think it's interesting because like I'm of two minds on that sort of thing, where I really enjoyed going into a lot of games like I did with the most of the Ratchet retrospectives, or with Sonic Adventure 1 and then 2, where playing them as if I was in that moment for the first time playing these games and really engaging with it on its terms opened up so much of Sonic Adventure 1 that I don't think a lot of people can appreciate unless they do it that way, especially today. The other side of that I have is a more recent example where I look at a game like infamous Second Son, where I've seen, like, I looked at contemporary gamer discussion about that game and how like there were nothing ever changes. People were talking about how are they saying this game's only 8 hours long? It's definitely like 20 plus if you do all the side content. It's not. And I looked at that and saw people that were like, oh man, I played this game 7 times over, and I always liked walking around Seattle and just seeing people. And I think those people are psychopaths.
I mean, we have one of them with us in the call. Brody's mentioned like killing NPCs in Infamous and then falling.
Killing them would be different. If you kill them, at least they have purpose to you. I'm talking like watching people watching.
Brody would kill them and then like pontificate in his imagination about their family receiving the news, right? Like, Brody is that kind of player you're describing.
You know, actually, Brody's version of Infamous 2, where he's killing civilians and thinking about their family, I think is actually the plot impetus for Second Son, because there are no side characters that give you side quests in Second Son, because Brody killed all of their ancestors.
No, you know, I don't think I ever quite did exactly what you're kind of describing there, though, with the people watching in Infamous. But I will say that during the COVID times, not to get us demonetized, but during those times, I went back.
Fake.
Yeah. I went back and I was playing Cyberpunk 2077. and after the PS5 patch or whatever was out. So I don't know exactly when it was, but it was after the PS5 patch, so when the game was made good. And I found myself like walking around that game, because one thing that I missed in that time is I used to work in a metropolitan city, and I would walk around in the city. Like my walk to work would be going from, you know, the bus train station to work, and that would take me about like, you know, a 40-minute walk or half an hour or whatever it is, or I could take the streetcar. But I would walk around the city, and I would take different routes, and I would see more of the city as I go, because it was like a 4x4 block, so I could kind of cut across whatever way I wanted to. And I would see like so many different things in the city. I would walk around. It was just nice. It was like a nice little part that I didn't realize how much I missed until I didn't have it. And Cyberpunk was such like a good, like a weirdly good representation of like a modern metropolitan city, that when I was walking around the game, again, blitzed out of my fucking mind, I kind of found
don't
myself
want to get us demonetized or anything.
Just slowly meandering through the game, like as if I was walking through a city and just like appreciating. And I wouldn't say I was people watching, but I was just kind of like taking in the sights and like, this is nice, this is peaceful, this is a little bit of what I need right now, weirdly.
Yeah, it's with a game like Cyberpunk, or like in, you know, even an Elder Scrolls sort of thing, I can kind of get it to a lesser extent, or to a different extent rather, compared to those two and GTA, compared to a game like an infamous Second Son, where like games with fake open worlds, like games with non-truly living open worlds that pretend that they are, you know, like.
I mean, I did this with Sonic Adventure, right? But there were like 5 human character models, so it was a lot easier to believe as a 6-year-old that it was the same people walking around all the time, you know, and making these little stories. But
it was, and it's that, and it's also because it was such a small thing, you could kind of do like Station Square is really the prototypical, or the prototype for Kamurocho, if you think about it. A small city that you, I fully understand that we are sickos for engaging with the same goddamn town 14 times in a row and being like, oh my God, they changed the bowling alley. That's so cool. like, yes, I understand that I am the same sicko that I have been criticizing weird Infamous players for being able to walk around that city forever for. Like, it's like, oh yeah, like at a point to me, like this is the part where my brain can't get past the game design aspect of it, where I look at like a Spider-Man and I see this super living, gorgeous, you know, rendition of Manhattan where they have a bunch of, you know, dynamic conversations between NPCs that you might never hear, or, you know, somebody trips and drops their coffee and it's like, oh, that's cool that there's these things that people put into it. Or like Infamous Second Son, I thought about the traffic patterns that exist, because like they have to, like, someone had to go in and program red light, green light, yellow light, like traffic patterns so that people don't crash into each other.
Yeah.
And then
Checkpoints where you have to swipe your thumb to get through. Yeah.
And then I think, why? Why? Like we don't need, like, if you're not going to go all the way, why put so much effort in to do that?
I think there's some level of, like, I mean, I would say even as far back as PS2, but then PS3, I think they really nailed those kind of open world traffic pattern things, because GTA, Saints Row, like they all had that. So I imagine it can't be too difficult at this point to implement that, at least in something.
I don't think it's a
AAA.
difficulty thing. It's that they had to have someone spend 2 years doing it. Like it's the Batman cape situation where it's like, oh man, it's really cool that you can go through Arkham and the cape flows dynamically a bunch of times with really, you know, bespoke animations. And also, why? Like you proved that you could, but you didn't think about whether you should. And that's a lot of like a lot of those open worlds to me. But then there are people that just are able to completely lose themselves in that. Like again, with Cyberpunk, I saw somebody say that they were like, oh yeah, I've beaten that game 12 times. And I'm like, all right, you're a psychopath. And then they're talking about how they've gone through, like, it's the best, you know, truest rendition of a city experience they've ever seen, which I've seen a lot of people say, and it's pretty accurate from what I've seen of Cyberpunk. And then I think about, like, I don't understand doing that for hundreds of hours in the same way that I don't understand creating 400 Skyrim characters and playing just the first 3 hours and then forgetting and starting over.
Well, now you can make a hella good YouTube video, though, right? Like, I followed every river in Tears of the Kingdom Hyrule or whatever this genre is now. Like, I saw one that was like, how many how many Mario Kart tracks could like my Honda Civic realistically finish or something in that ballpark where I'm like, this is incredible, but what are you doing? I think they made it knowing these people would eventually exist. Maybe.
Which is fair. Again, and it goes back to the thing we said earlier about like, oh, if it was good, it'd be so good.
If it was good, it'd be really good.
That's a lot of this. Not that those aren't, not that like Cyberpunk City isn't good. Not that a lot of these things aren't good. But I mean, you made a good point with Mario Kart. Like Mario Kart World exists and it has this big ass open world that you do nothing in except for maybe people watch the cars that drive around. And it's like, that's cool. That's going to be some child's GTA. And then there are adults doing it. And I'm like, you could be reading a book.
You
could be enriching yourself. You could be enriching yourself in some way.
It might have been a
short for 3 hours. Here's what happened.
Yes, that's it. That's what I was about to mention. Exactly that is I followed a single Toad and saw what he did. Oh, he got out of his car and he walked. He doesn't have a set pattern or whatever.
My gut reaction is why, but then my second reaction is like, I wish I had that curiosity in my life still. I don't know. I want to apply it toward that, but I don't have that curiosity from my day to day. I can tell you that much.
It is a bit of a curse having like, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but having as much like back end knowledge as I have with things like 3D development and game design and effects and all of these things. Like, I kind of wish I didn't know how the sausage was made anymore. Like, I kind of wish I could, like, it's my job in a certain respect, but I kind of wish I could just like forget and have that sense of wonder back. You know?
To some degree, I agree. And like, I do almost envy the people that can get lost in that stuff for that long. Cause I remember GTA San Andreas being this game that I thought was this massive experience that never ended. And then I went through it, like, not even as an adult, but like, as a later teenager. And I was like, oh, wow, this game's actually not that long. Like, you just get distracted being so in the moment with a lot of it that you don't realize. And I love that. I love when time dilation still gets me and I can get absorbed that way. Cause there are games that do that, Tears of the Kingdom, made me realize that Breath of the Wild was not as long as I remember it being, but also that doesn't change how engrossed I was for that amount of time for both of those games and how impressive it was. That they were like, oh man, people are going to make YouTube videos about the rivers. So what if we make sure the rivers have sources now and whatnot.
I think the moral through line, the theme that we're really touching on here is that Chris needs to go back and replay Jak II as if it's the first open world game he's ever played and the only one he has.
How did every river lead back to this source, Brody?
Well, because if you're playing. Well, because if Kevin's playing Sonic Adventure like it's, all he has and he's really delving into it, I think you need to play Jak II. Like, again, it's the first open world game you've ever played and the only one you have because your mom won't let you buy GTA because it's rated M. I
don't like how you phrased Sonic Adventure being all I have in that theoretical example.
Yeah. Like, even me, like, I had Crazy Taxi I could pop in when I was a kid, I could have swapped over if I needed to.
That's a good example.
Kevin's just in his room with Sonic Adventure and his mom like, you have to understand Sonic Adventure, son.
Like, she's hitting me until I understand it. I think it's Crazy Taxi is a good example because I remember I never had Simpsons Hit and Run as a kid. I rented it once, like not way later on, like a year later, and I was like, oh, this is kind of mid. But Hit
and Run's the GTA Road Rage.
Yeah, I never had Hit and Run. I had Road Rage.
Gotcha.
And I remember like driving around in the city and like just trying to absorb the city. And to be fair, I had the feeling of like, I think I had this around the same time that I had GTA San Andreas. So going through the empty but kind of lived in city was impressive in Simpsons Road Rage. But even then I had the comparison point of like, this is kind of empty and there's nothing to do here. So like even that far back, I was depressed.
Yeah.
And I remember playing Road Rage and Hit and Run. And Hit and Run is a little more interesting because you get out and walk around and stuff. Road Rage is fun to like find the shortcuts or whatever, but it does at a point kind of lose its luster. But I do remember very specifically going into the Simpsons movie and like coming out of it being mad that they put Moe's Tavern right beside the church because I'm like, that's not where they are in Road Rage and Hit and Run. That's the map that lives in my head when I watch the show.
Oh. That was one nice thing about playing Crazy Taxi so young, though, because that city felt huge to me as a kid. Like, it felt never ending. It felt like I'd never see every road in that game. Then, like, within the last few months or so, I think I don't know if it was like a website, you could just rotate the map around, or if they just posted a JPEG and in my head I was rotating it. It was really late at night, but someone just posted the Crazy Taxi map, and you just see like these long, narrow, straight roads connecting to these like barely big little areas with barely anything in them. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, that is how it actually is, I guess, huh?
It's kind of how I feel about Burnout Paradise nowadays. Cause I love Burnout Paradise, and I platinumed it multiple times. But I go and look at that map, and I'm like, it's kind of like the smallish city area, and then the big upper part. But the big upper part's a lot of straight lines.
Mm-hmm. A lot of straight lines in like the hills or whatever, so you can't actually go off road very well or whatever.
Yeah. There's like shortcuts you can hit here and there, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I even remember in GTA 5, like I remember playing that. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe 17 turning 18 at that point, give or take. And I'm playing it going, this is kind of small. Like, there's just kind of a big ass, like, I like the mountain. It's cool. But like, I don't really,
I felt that way about GTA 5 the moment I played it. Cause I was just like I don't have a love for San Andreas because I never played it. And I don't really have a love for GTA as a series because I played 4 and I wasn't really that into it. So I'm playing 5 and I'm having an okay time with the story. And the city is like, oh, the city's cool. I wish the game was that. I wish the whole map was the city and not like 75% or like 90% just desert.
Well, the good news is they've spent 13 years making the biggest GTA ever just for you.
And half of it's swamp.
Yeah, right.
Like I like the rural areas in like a San Andreas or in a GTA 5, so I'm okay with those existing and taking up a good chunk of the map, as long as there are like at least some cool missions that use those. And the problem with GTA 5 story is that it didn't, so that didn't help things. But it's just. Yeah, I mean, even GTA 5, like, there's all the mysteries that people tried to solve in the early YouTube days, but, like, it's not nearly as compelling as the fake myths we made up about the Sasquatch in GTA San Andreas back in the day. Not that I'm saying that the old version was better. It's just, it's so hard to have an ARG secret anymore that, because it gets solved so quickly, or because everyone has the answers immediately because they want to be the first to know everything.
There's an industry for just looking through the files now, like as soon as possible, and getting
it's
it
like the only way you can do an ARG nowadays is like the way the Inscription guy did it, where you're literally like obfuscating it behind like an insane amount. Like, it's like, oh, you have to get this one clue that points you towards this thing that's not in the game, so it can't be in the game files, and then like decode this audio file in WAV format to find the hex code to text, to then decode that points you to like a real location in real life where you go dig up a copy of the game.
Funnily, going back to Infamous, Infamous had that 100% had an ARG in Second Son, and I remember trying to play it when I first played Second Son. It would have been like 2016 when I got my PS4. So you had to go to you would get clues that only existed when they only existed in your Infamous Second Son Paper Trail was the name of the DLC, or of the missions rather, website account that you had to link to your PSN account, because it wasn't just your PSN account. And then you would go and like with the data you would then upload to that by putting it in the mailbox in game. You would then go and read a bunch of files, like you'd open a PNG of like a murder scene and be like, okay, this is what I need to find here. And then it would like let you unlock the next mission either right away, or if at launch, it was like 6 weeks, I think, or 5 weeks, where they would release like weekly. And it was like, it's such a cool idea to like expand the idea of the open world games in the same way that the UGC was the game creation mission stuff from 2. It's a cool, novel way of expanding both of those open worlds and like letting you try and live in them more and longer.
It's just too bad it was kind of dog shit.
In practice, the Second Son one was dog shit, and the Infamous 2 stuff is entirely made by children or unemployed people, so mostly children on the PS3 days.
Very funny.
Yeah, very funny.
Very good source of comedy.
There's some really good ones in there. But it's just again, I don't know. This isn't really related to the idea of like the fan sequel concept that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we're off the rails. 10 minutes in, the editing gets worse. So
that's true. But the emptiness that people try to capture with a lot of these games, I don't think clicks the same way anymore. Like, I think I noticed early that Shadow of the Colossus was empty as hell. A lot of people really wanted that to be like part of the story. And like, yes, it is part of the story. And also they just made an empty ass open world.
I think it's one of those interesting moments where like limitation becomes a tool. Right?
Yeah. In that case, I don't think it's a good tool, but in that you could at least have seen this. Oh, wow. This is really cool, beautiful, almost contemplative space to be in, to think about the stuff that you're doing or the stuff that you've done as the character. When I see a game like what's a good game here? When I see a game like Blue Fire, the Scrimblow Zelda game, do something similar with an empty space, it doesn't feel contemplative anymore because we're so used to those open worlds that I can't even get myself into the headspace of it being not just empty. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky because you think about, like, I'll play a lot of these indie games, whether they're successors or they're their own thing, and my mind always goes to, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, well, let me think about what the developers were thinking and what they were trying to say with this, and whether this was like an intentional thing or whether it was like something like budget, like, hey, why is every level in Akimbot a beach, right? Like they're not trying to say something with that. That's just a limitation. But sometimes these things can be that, and I'm always thinking about that of like, what. Trying to read between the lines of the text to be like, what is the author meaning? What is the subtext here? What are they trying to say? And most of the time that's very interesting. If a game can really pull me in, like something like an Outer Wilds or something that has like an actual mystery to it, like a burning question, I can usually I find fun in then thinking about what it is, and even if the answer doesn't line up with what I was thinking, I at least had the fun thinking of what it could be, which was, again, like much the case with Outer Wilds, of me theorizing about what is going on here, and like not being entirely off base, but being off base enough that like, something's gonna hit as like a plot twist, because like I thought one of my big things that was incorrect about the game, so I don't think it counts as a spoiler because I was just incorrect about it, is like it had this eerie vibe of like, I feel like I'm being watched. I feel like there's someone who knows something more than they're telling, and I feel like I'm being watched. And it turned out like not really, not in the way that I was thinking. It was something entirely else. Like the thing that led me to feel like I was being watched ended up being breadcrumbs for something else entirely. But playing a lot of that game, feeling that way, gave a certain specific vibe that I was like real into. Like it was almost like psychological horror, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, there's an interesting element to me, like of, I don't want to give the Metroidvania credit for evoking this feeling consistently, because it doesn't. I don't think a lot of the Metroidvanias I've played have evoked that feeling. But a game like a Blueprints did get me into a specific mindset that I would have been more into as a kid. I
got sucked right in.
Yeah, like it just absorbed me, and it made me think, man, I should really sit down and properly play Myst one day. And then I started it, and I was like, no, I'm good.
There's the remake that ruins it or something.
Like, at least got me. I think everyone says the remake's actually good for those.
Oh,
there's 3 remakes.
I heard like the people be like, oh, the fact that they made it like an actual 3D environment that you navigate like takes away like all the artistic angles and stuff that the game used.
Oh, probably people are. Yeah, the Spyro's not purple.
Don't get me started on Spyro's not purple. Brody's been lighting up my DMs at 4 a.m. lately.
Oh, I've seen the screenshots that he sent you.
I've sent a couple over to Kevin.
Oh, okay. You've been getting those too. Yeah.
The hex code lies.
It's just that 12 off-screen photos of Brody CRT being like the teacher from Incredibles. Like, see, right there. No, let me go back. Right there, she was right. But no one has the right idea what Spyro looks like anymore. Coincidence? I think not. And I'm like,
because even if you take a picture of the CRT, it looks like on a digital photo, but it doesn't actually look like when it comes out of the CRT.
This is what Brody is like when he gets blitzed and isn't playing a game actively in that moment.
I was halfway to typing like, and then think about like the automatic processing your phone camera does to images, because like iPhones will wash out photos. I can't imagine what yours says.
I see it. I take the picture. First of all, I take the picture of the CRT. The CRT doesn't look correct, but then it like a half a second after I take the picture, it like adds some processing to it where it looks even more incorrect. And I'm like, okay, so even if you're playing the original Spyro on an HDTV or taking a picture of it off a CRT or looking at images of it online, it's not correct.
Slow down. Breathe.
The only way to see the true color of Spyro's purple is to play it on original hardware on a CRT. That's the only way to know his purple.
The only question I care about is, did you make the purple that your Bentley drawing?
No. This is more of a reignited Spyro purple. I just put whatever the default filter was, but that would be really funny.
Yeah, that would have been. Why didn't you do it? Why don't you want us to laugh, Brody?
I didn't know it was going to come up, but I guess it makes sense considering you two are the only two I've bombarded with this information at 3 a.m.
If you were a YouTuber with a following, no offense, you could make this insane video and it would get 4 million views. You could call it like "No one knows what color Spyro is," and then have like a Spyro with a question mark over it thumbnail, and that shit would blow the F up, bro.
But the problem is there'd be no way to prove it. This is okay. That's
the final thing, and you like, and then you get all contemplative, and then you hold your microphone clipped onto like a pencil or whatever in front of your green screen, and you have yourself like 360 spiraling, and it's like, what's the point of anything? And then you leave the video half sentence, and
I think I know how you'd have to end it, which would be you would start by saying, I've acquired 600 different CRTs. And compared compared them, and then you go into the discussion of, well, the camera is not capturing the exact footage here, so I also feed them into a capture device so that I can try and like compare them to the color of the CRT and the glow of the CRT, and the end game is I'm at Insomniac.
I was going to say this has to end with like I've triangulated Ted Price's location and like a police officer like comes off screen and like pelts you down or something and kills you.
I feel like at some point I'm like in a dark room like lit with an overhead light, and I've gathered like all of these different like real life paint pigments, and I'm trying to like mix them in the perfect way to create it, and then I get it and then I just like smear it on my face and become like a Blue Man Group version of this perfect purple for Spyro.
Oh, like a Dan Henschel bit.
Do we have a Patreon question?
Oh, right. This is an episode now. I forgot. We hacksaw this one together for a little behind the scenes. We do technically have one. Erkman one, what is the worst gas station convenience store food you've had? Which feels like an insane walk at this point compared to where we just were. It felt so innocent to pick this one before we started.
What is the worst gas station? What food?
Convenience store.
Store food.
Like 7-Eleven or whatever.
Oh.
I don't know
the worst, but I can tell you the best.
I was thinking mostly with you and mine, Kevin, because Isaac, you did have like some sheets order that struck me as...
I have a very specific sheets order.
Yeah.
I have...
I'm not going to say it sounded bad, but it was very a lot.
When you were around, we should have gone to a Sheets and gotten you a Thick Boy Special.
I could try the Thick Boy Special.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
We went to Red Robin like 4 times instead, every other day. So the Thick Boy Special was at Sheets. You would order a burrito. This is back when they were like $6. So they were like cheap enough that it was worth going to a gas station for food.
Yeah.
You would go to Sheets, order a burrito. Originally, it was a quesarito, so it was 2 burrito wraps, but with cheese in between. I got rid of that at some point because I was like, that's 300 to 800 more calories. Why would I do that? But initially, you needed the extra wrap. You get whatever your meat of choice is. I usually do chicken. Rice and beans in the burrito. Tater tots. Now it's not tater tots. It's mini hash browns. They've changed it. As Nico has assailed them for many times.
Yeah.
It would be all of those alongside, they have the Boom Boom sauce. I would either then do jalapeno ranch, or they have a habanero type sauce. I would do one of those. And it would just come out like thicker than a soda can, like in length or in girth, which is not really super thick when you think about it, but like this water bottle I'm holding, sorry chat, I can't, sorry audio listener, I can't show you exactly the girth of this, but probably a 12-inch circumference, 10-inch circumference, give or take, burrito that would be super thick and disgusting and really, really good.
It sounds like a day's worth of calories just from how you describe it.
I think I did the math and it wasn't actually that much. Like the tots added a lot, obviously, because it's, fried potato. But like otherwise, their burritos are probably only like 500, 600 calories, which is like, a meal.
Okay.
If you're going by usual diet.
Yeah.
That's probably that's one of the better gas station convenience store foods. Like obviously there's the Wawa hoagie, the mythical Wawa hoagie. The worst one. I don't like the gobbler, the Wawa hoagie they do for Thanksgiving.
I assume turkey.
It is a hot turkey with stuffing, and it's a turkey dinner on a hoagie. And like I don't live alone anymore, so I can't feasibly order that. Like that's
you can
the
be
food
judged
you get
for decisions. Yeah.
Well, not even about judgment. Like that is a food that you can only ethically get when you live alone. Like that feels like a single man food.
The fallback is I think you have to eat it in your car before you get home. I think that's the only way out.
That'd be so goddamn messy. Like there's cranberry sauce and shit and gravy is on this. Like it's filthy.
It's making me think like in college sometimes because the computer lab was open 24 hours. So we would kind of just be there overnight working on stuff a lot, especially like night owls.
Yeah.
And there was only one restaurant on campus that was open. It closed at like 1 a.m. So if it was like getting late and you were hungry, the only place you could go to was the Wendy's. And I'm like, well, I need food to eat all night until, more things open or whatever. So I need to get like a good amount of food. And they had like these cheesy burgers, which were literally just like a thin patty, a bun, and some like processed goo cheese on top. And they were $2 each. So I would go to Wendy's and I would buy 20 of them. Not 20, I would buy 10 of them. I would spend $20.
I go to Wendy's and drop $40 on 20 burgers because I just need to get through, the 6 hours of night when no restaurants are open. Like I just, what would I even do?
I would buy 10 of them for $20. And I remember specifically the one that I did this. And I ate 9 of them, but I gave one of them away because one of my classmates asked, like, can I have a burger? And I'm like, yeah, it's $2, whatever.
I suppose I'll share my wealth with you.
I ate 9 of those mothers in one night.
Sprinkled it away like the meme.
But I'm trying to think of worst gas station food, and the answer is probably just some like crap I ordered from 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. from their hot food section, even though I should have just got snacks. Because I was like, oh, they have pizza, or they have the big thick Dorito with the cheese inside, or whatever.
That thing. Oh God, that's got to be the worst.
It's something like that. But I was also thinking of best, and I literally, Becca and I recently took a visit to my hometown to see my family. And when we were there, one of the things that Becca missed about there was Chester's chicken, which we as Crub also have our own separate Chester's chicken lore, which is great. Yeah.
But it's like A&W where I think Canadians will hear Chester's chicken and go like, oh, okay. And then Americans will hear Chester's chicken and go, ugh.
Well, no, honestly, so Chester's chicken, I didn't know this for a long time because I only ever got it for years. I only ever got it off of like food delivery apps because I didn't know where there was a Chester's chicken. I just
They're
knew
all
like
ghost kitchens. Every Chester's chicken is a ghost kitchen.
Kind of. They're all in convenience stores and gas stations. Like they only exist in convenience stores and gas stations, which is insane in its own right. But then this one specific one we went to, whenever we would get it, I would get like, about like a spread of sauces to have because I like, I do that at Popeyes too. I get multiple different sauces. But Becca always liked getting the creamy garlic sauce for like fried chicken, which I thought was odd, but she really liked it to the point where at one point when we were still living there, they stopped having that available like online to get the creamy garlic sauce. And like, oh, that's really odd. But for the first time ever, when we went and visited a few weeks ago, I went to a physical Chester's chicken location in a convenience store for the very first time. And we ordered like tenders and stuff. And on the sign, they had like the Chester's chicken brand like menu of like, oh, here's like, like you might see when you walk into McDonald's overhead menu kind of thing. And it had these pictures of the sauces. And I couldn't help but notice like, creamy garlic is not a sauce on there. There are a couple other sauces I remembered them serving that weren't on there, but they had the 4. And we buy the chicken. They say, okay, it's going to be 20 minutes. So we go sit in our car and eat the Slurpee or the ices, whatever we got from there.
Right.
slush puppies. And then I go back in to get the chicken, and it's just me. And I notice on the the Subway glass type thing that they have, where they're behind it, they're keeping all the chicken and stuff. On the top, sitting on top of that, is a little board, and it says like, "Oh, here are a bunch of sauces," and none of those sauces are the ones they have on the overhead board. And one of them says creamy garlic, and Becca told me, based on the sauces that were up on the overhead board, go get me a ranch, because they don't have the creamy garlic. And I'm like, okay. So I go in and see that they have it. I haven't picked the sauces we're getting yet, even though it comes with sauces. I get the creamy garlic sauce, and I don't tell her that it's creamy garlic. So then when we get back to my grandmother's place where we're eating, she dips the chicken in and like it's thinking it's ranch, but it's creamy garlic, and she's eating it, and like her mind was like blown of like, whoa, it was literally the fucking like Ratatouille moment. Even though it's only been like 3 years.
I at least respect that they were like, hey, we don't usually cook chicken, so it's going to be like 20 minutes.
Well, they had the whole restaurant out like situation there, right? I feel like I've gone to Popeyes before, and I've been like, yo, I want chicken. And they're like, oh, we don't have any available. Like, we don't have any tenders out right now. We got to make some. It's going to be 20 minutes. I feel like that's.
I mean, I would rather a gas station, convenience store, chicken place not
make
have
it fresh.
Yeah, not have that much chicken available that they have to make it fresh every time. It's not very convenient, to be fair. But
no.
I don't want them to be like, oh, here it is. It's already ready. Like, that's right, the like worst option.
You go to 7-Eleven and they're like, oh, here's our wings and hot dogs on the roller. And I'm like, I don't trust.
How do you even put wings on a roller?
Well, no, the hot dogs are on the roller. The wings are on the side. But it's like, I don't trust like that.
Yeah, I mean, that roller hasn't been cleaned in years. Chris, what's your best/worst gas station food?
Sorry, I'm putting memes from our 5 a.m. Chester's Chicken Expedition up on our stream. Can you repeat the question?
Let me. I want to click. We got some. Yeah, there's some good Chester's chicken here on screen. Sorry, audio listeners, you don't get to see Celebrate Dad with Chester's.
I don't have any interesting ones because I don't trust like that when it comes to places. So I've mostly only been at Sheetz and Wawa, where the food was at least decent. But I can remember the worst thing I ever ordered, which should have been a pretty easy thing to get right. Speedway was ripping off Sheetz for a while. They had the Speedway Cafe. I think they're starting to bring that back for some reason. But it was basically like you walk in, tap the touchscreen, and order and get stuff. At some point, I was like, I just want some French fries. I'm not that hungry. They gave me the soggiest, most disgusting, wet, limp, flaccid, wobbly, soggy, like insert any adjective that makes you want to, and that was these fries. Tasted bad, terrible seasoning. Drowning them with ketchup did not redeem it. I still think of those fries when I go past Speedway. It like affected the brand for me, and it's just terrible. I would think like convenience store fries would be like a pretty reasonable thing to get correct, but it was just terrible.
I don't think I've ever respected Burger King ever since they changed the fries to Satis fries.
Has that been recent? I heard they changed their fries again recently and they were good. Okay.
Oh, they might have. They might have changed it back.
Yeah, there was a long time where Burger King fries were not good, for sure.
Yeah. They called them Satis fries, but they were the saddest fries.
When you ask
the group
a
Chester's
what they
chicken
for lunch and no one suggests Chester's, SpongeBob, I'm gonna head out. Relatable meme from Chester's Chicken International.
I don't remember us having seen that one when we went on our Chester's Chicken binge. That's incredible.
There's a lot of these at 5 a.m. I'll tell you
that. To let listeners know like how deep this goes, we have a Chester's Chicken sticker in our private server.
Yeah, it's the Chester's Chicken mascot suit threateningly lurched forward. That's what I was like trying to find, but then I found all this shit instead, and I was like, yeah, you know what?
The worst part was that happened only once. Like this was one night of Chester's Chicken posting, and it was I think during a charity room event. So then the next day we were like trying to like evoke the magic of Chester's Chicken. And it was like the thing where you're like, oh, me and the boys had a cool beam. It was so, you should have been there. It was so funny.
Those
That was what it
Philistines
was.
just couldn't get it, frankly. If they don't understand Chester's chicken, they didn't deserve the content.
I still remember there was discussions when you guys were trying to organize like either Crubcella or some meetup, whether it was TMG or whatever.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you're like, okay, but how do we do this in a way where we can drive by or to a Chester's Chicken?
There was one not far from where Nico was. It was on the way back, like slightly out of the way, and he wouldn't go only 40 minutes out of the way for Chester's Chicken.
Which is kind of crazy because that man is very good about like, hey, I'll just give you a ride. Like when I was there in Philly, like he was like, yeah, like if I can, I'll give you the ride. You know?
It's crazy because he's like all for that, and also he's all for a bit. Nico will get behind a bit 100%, and Chester's Chicken is the bit. There's no other funny bit, right? Oh yes, here we go. Yep. God, we were on fire that night.
You've had it?
No.
There's so much Chester's Chicken on screen.
Yeah. We used to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, we tried to convince him, though. We tried to convince him to go 80 minutes out of the way for Chester's Chicken, but he wouldn't. And then there was one, like, not far from, like where we were.
It's Walter White and Jesse Pinkman going hard, and then Chester's Chicken, the mascot chicken behind them, all on the yellow piss filter. They're in Mexico. We used to be funny. I don't know. What happened to us? We fell off.
The audio listeners, the link to at least that one will be in the show notes. Because
I'll put a screen cap of what's currently on screen somewhere and get this in.
Like pop that in the Crub server or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
this was like a few months before we formally started Crub, and I think that we used our last funny energy there.
Yeah, it's all been downhill since then.
I think you made that. Hold on.
Oh, I hope I was that funny. Holy
yeah, that was
shit.
you. 4:24 a.m.
What was the one that I did today? There was one I did today that was or yesterday. Oh, it was the Robert Downey Jr. Turning. Yeah.
Oh
okay.
my God. Yeah.
Yep. There was a bit that I had the idea for, because Chris posted a picture of it was the Cuck Command Center, because it was like a hotel with a chair and then also a whole desk where you could like work at, but it was
the
facing
desk had
the
like
bed.
a screen, like a whole screen facing the bed.
Like it was like, okay, that would be fine if not for the fact that you're staring at two beds in the process of working.
Right.
I saw that, and the phrase Cuck Command Center made me think of like the screen in which you would be able to like the viewport you would be able to look at the people in the bed while you're working or whatever. Made me think of like Iron Man inside helmet vision from the movies. And then I was like, oh wait, I have an idea. And so I was like, the idea was, Iron Man looking really sad in his view, and then it would be like him in a cuck chair. And then I found a picture of Mark Ruffalo and Gwyneth Paltrow kissing in a movie. And it's really awful, disgusting kiss. And so it's Robert Downey Jr. looking heartbroken, that, and then the poster for Avengers Doomsday on the side.
I think what really gets me is the Robert Downey Jr. face is like that one specific face where it's like the DreamWorks expression. Where he's like,
yeah, it is kind of DreamWorksy. Looks like Megamind almost.
I forgot.
I love the non-transparent PNG of Walter White just there.
The impetus for that Chester's Chicken lurch was that he looked like Walter White in that terrible image next to him. That was the genesis of, this Chester's Chicken is funny. No, he's coming at you. He just looks like Walter White naked in the desert.
Because anytime anyone stands up like that, I think of either Nico's album cover.
Yeah.
Or us taking that album cover and posting it over the top of Walter White in the first episode of Breaking Bad, all stanced up with a gun, no pants.
Yeah.
So every time I see someone in the "mom I threw up" stance, I just immediately put them in that exact scene.
As you should.
It's so good.
Jesus.
I think that's an episode, boys. I think we did.
Yeah, I think so too. Because my audio recording just went past where we did the pre-show, like what we're playing audio recording, and half of that is part of this episode.
We're so back.
Yeah.
All right,
dear
everyone.
listener, let us know what you think of Chester's Chicken if you've had it, and if you haven't, go find a Chester's Chicken.
I really thought you were going to say if you haven't, go f yourself.